Ajit, what advice would you give someone who's going into a leadership position for the very first time?
So when someone goes into a leadership position, I would strongly suggest pick a mentor to begin with, right? And use him or her as a sounding board.
Right.
And try to, at least initially for the first few weeks, try to bounce off as much as possible.
Right.
To know that one is in the right path. Because it's a big change. Until now I was receiving, now I have to start giving. There's a big perception change, right? People look at the giver in a different way versus the receiver. So that is one. Second is try to learn the nitty-gritties of the subject. So an example here would be a very good lawyer, when he picks up a case, spends initial few weeks or months, whatever it takes, to understand the business.
Right.
While the case may be related to that business or something, maybe a small part of the business, rather than focusing on the case, the person would understand how that business works,
the entire
ecosystem. Therefore, then he's able to fit that particular activity and then know exactly how he can bail one out.
Right.
So it's very important to know the surroundings well, right? If you don't know your surroundings well, you will always end up focusing only on one area, and often you will fail because your surrounding will take over.
True.
That. The third is know whom to connect, whom to believe, who are people who are known to take you for a ride, and who are people whom you can trust when they say what they say.
Right.
So learn to differentiate. So that's basically people management, an art of understanding people. So once you know that, you then half your battle is won.
True. Well, I think very candid pointers that you've pointed out, because otherwise you would not have leaders say these things. So very candid, very straightforward. Well, thank you so much for sharing about leadership. Now we'd like to know you, the person that you are. So we have a rapid fire round for me, the me side of me, right? So I'm going to ask you questions and we're looking at quick answers on this one. One thing you love about your job?
Freedom.
Okay. Your favorite destination?
In India would be Dharamshala.
Okay. And abroad? International?
International, I enjoyed Nebraska, cold weather.
Yeah, I love cold weather too. Your favorite food?
I prefer bland food. So anything that is bland, say like something like dal khichdi is something my go-to.
Right.
When in doubt,
I think Indian food couldn't get more blander than dal khichdi. Okay. A book that inspired you the most?
There could be a couple of books, but one book that outright I can recall is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Poor Dad, yes.
I liked it the way it was written, and it made a lot of sense to me in my personal life.
Okay. All right. Your role model?
So, of course, in case of role models, again, for various roles, I may have different models.
Yeah.
For the art of speaking, I envy how, say, P. Chidambaram, the Honorable ex-Finance Minister, or Shashi Tharoor, they speak, the fluency and the composure that they have.
True.
In terms of a leader as a role model, I envy my previous CEO. Okay. I gained a lot from him. I thoroughly enjoyed working with him.
Okay. All right. What do you splurge on?
I'm a foodie, so I like to splurge on
food.
Decent food. At the same time, I also like gadgets to an extent.
Okay.
So I try to keep myself controlled as far as gadgets are concerned. Technology, basically.
Right. If you remember, what was your very first salary of the very first job?
I think it was 2,000 rupees per month.
And it was a decent amount back then?
It may not have been a decent amount, but I possibly never thought about salary then. It was the role, the learning.
Right.
I spent about a year and a half, 2 years in that organization. I think I ended up leaving at some 3,500, 4,000 after all the increments
Okay.
while moving out.
Nice.
But I think it was more of the learning, the immense learning I got, which I still carry today.
True. One thing left to do.
One thing that I would like to restart, I would say, put it that way. I love photography. So I have invested in cameras and stuff, but for some reason I have put everything in a corner. So that's something that I would like to start doing again. Pick up my camera, go to maybe some beautiful places and start shooting.
Get your clicks.
I loved photography from my childhood.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. One love?
Music, anytime.
Okay.
That's my first love.
Okay. If you were not an Infosec professional, what would you have been?
I think I would have been a lawyer or a doctor.
Oh.
I have this affinity for both these professions. While today I do handle some bit of legal as part of my profession, though I'm not a trained lawyer, or I do handle those contracts and get into dialogues with legal counsels where necessary. But yeah, doctor is something that is I always repent I didn't pick up. Not that I repent my current engineering profession, but that's something
Yeah, I mean, if not this, you would have been that for sure, because
I have that natural thing about medicine. I keep reading and stuff. So
interesting.
I have purchased those clinical BP monitors, and I try to use a stethoscope to measure BP and stuff at home. I just love it.
So you do what you do. That's simple. All right. Okay, the next section is where I give you two options and you choose one, right? Between Twitter and Instagram, what would you choose?
I prefer none, but then if there was a choice to be made, maybe Instagram.
Instagram, okay. LinkedIn or Facebook?
LinkedIn.
Okay. Cricket or football?
Cricket anytime.
Physics or chemistry?
Physics. I love physics.
Okay. Movies or music?
Music anytime.
Okay. Weights or cardio?
Cardio.
Books or Kindle?
Kindle.
Okay. Early mornings or late nights?
Early morning.
Yes.
Anytime.
iOS or Android?
I prefer iOS from the customer experience perspective.
Right.
But maybe Android from a cost perspective.
Okay. All right. So I'll still go with iOS then. Right. Okay. Formals or casuals?
I prefer casuals.
Casuals. Okay. Well, we come to the last part of this stage, where we'd like to know who Ajit Anantharaman was when he was 18 years old. What was he like as a person?
At 18, I was midway into my diploma in mechanical engineering.
Okay.
So it was all full-time.
So was it all study or was it?
It was all study because there was hardly any time. So this was like we hardly got any breaks.
Right.
After I think around 18, 19 is when my third year would have started.
Okay.
When so this was an industry integrated course.
Right.
So
the LnT one that you
the LnT one. So starting I think the third year, if I'm not mistaken, it was in the curriculum that you would spend few weeks in a corporate entity.
Yes.
So the first year I spent in different departments within Larsen & Toubro, and the last 6 months was completely we had to spend outside. So that's when I spent in Air India, entire of 6 months. So there was actually no break as such, because we were continuously the second half was all working. So we were gaining practical on ground experience.
Okay. Now, when you reached 25, what were you like as a person?
I think at 25, at 25 actually I was a very carefree person, I would think. I think those were my early days of my work life. Nice. And somewhere around that time I started thinking about my MBA. But then of course I love to sleep. I used to sleep a lot. And we watch cricket and tried to do everything that I could not do in my first half.
Yes.
Then I always have been interested in finance, personal finance more, specifically. So I used to take a lot of financial decisions at home, all the investments, everything. I would
and you were influencing financial decisions?
Absolutely, at home. So I would I would draw out so we had those smooth surfaces behind the doors. So I would make my parents sit there and I would draw the entire financial plan.
Wow.
And then say, okay, this is how we will do it. From here, pick the money, put it there, pick the money from there, put it here. This is how you will save your taxes. And that time also I got interested in income tax, so I used to file my own returns.
Wow.
And when the word spread, some of my colleagues at my company also would give their salary statement, and for them also I used to file on returns.
So did you charge them?
No, I didn't charge them. Those days you had those physical forms.
Yes.
So I used to calculate. So and all this I generated on my own interest. There's nobody who taught me anything. It was just my personal interest. I kept learning and doing it for fun.
Okay. And by the time you got to 30?
I think 30-ish, marriage and other things took over around that time. I think I also flew to US. Right. So the priorities were very different. Of course, when you go abroad, you start enjoying life a little more. The work-life balance suddenly starts kicking in.
Yes.
You suddenly have time.
Yes.
Weekends, evenings, walks, travel, drive around, see places.
So good time though.
Yeah. So those are fun years.
True. Absolutely. Well, Ajit, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to learn so much from you, rather. And I'm sure people who are going to watch this video are definitely going to learn from you.
Thanks, Roshan. I think it was an absolute fun time. I enjoyed the session, and thanks for calling me. And it's really good to rewind old days. I mean, had you not asked me these questions, possibly I would not have been thinking on those.
True.
But now it reminds me, and possibly I can pick a few things which I have left out then.
And probably work on it now.
While I was answering, a few thoughts were coming. Oh, I forgot about this part. I should pick it up and do it.
True. Well, I'm glad I could trigger that. Thank you so much, Ajit.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.